So, this is the reason why trucks in Pakistan are not afraid of being overloaded. They cut and dismantle ship anchor chains, going through only simple heating. Then, by hammering them, they manage to make extremely strong truck rear axles. Moreover, the product quality meets export standards. These chains, cut into pieces, are the raw material for axle production. To better shape them into the desired form, the master places them in a furnace for heating. After heating the chains to 900 degrees Celsius, they can be removed. Next, they are placed under a pneumatic hammer for shaping. First, the chains are transformed into the shape of an axle shaft. However, even for a skilled master, this task is very difficult to complete. But the wisdom of the working people is infinite. The master places the axle in a final line mold, allowing it to be properly shaped into a shaft. Once molded, the axle is still only a semi-finished piece. The next step is to heat the axle head in the furnace. After more than 10 minutes of heating, it is now possible to mold the axle head into the shape of a flange. The master places the axle head in a circular final line mold, and with the pneumatic hammer, the process is completed. At this point, the basic shape of the axle is formed. To ensure that the axle is concentric and aligned, the irregular areas need further correction. But hammering alone doesn't meet the usage standards. The axle still needs to go through fine machining. The master fixes the axle on a lathe and uses a tool to turn the flange to the proper size. After completing the turning process, since the raw material's weight is not standardized, the axle lengths are not uniform. So, the master makes cutting marks on the shaft and uses a network tool to cut off the excess shaft. Although the basic shape of the axle is already formed, to achieve perfect product specifications, the flange needs to be fully turned until smooth. We all know that axles are fastened by bolts, so they need to be drilled. The master fixes a final line mold on the flange to ensure there is no deviation during drilling. After the bolt holes are processed, since the shaft size still does not meet usage requirements, the master again fixes the axle on the lathe to remove the excess material. Although this turning process takes a while, seeing the layers of metal fall off is very satisfying. When the axle is turned until the entire shaft is shiny and smooth to the touch, with no sharp edges, the axle processing is almost finished. As the axle is responsible for power transmission, a groove needs to be turned on the axle head. The master places the axle on the spline machine and controls the shaft's movement to cut the necessary splines. This machine has been in service for 20 years, but under the Pakistani master's control, it still completes its task with precision, ensuring that each spline meets the usage standard. Thus, the axle, made from anchor chains, is now complete. The quality looks extremely strong and durable. Even pulling 100 tons, it probably wouldn't break. Amazing! A big shout out to the Pakistani master's craftsmanship.